Hi everyone, this is Brian from Provision Studios, and today I'm making a video on how to master inside of Harrison Mixbus from music that wasn't mixed in your studio. The artist who will be featured today in this video will be a band called Rolls and Dice, and they are a rap and hip hop duo out of California. I will have some links in the description to this video on where you can find more information about them. So if you like what you hear, please, it would be awesome if you could support them in any way you can. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Again, this is mastering inside of Harrison Mixbus on songs that weren't mixed in your studio. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, this is Brian from Provision Studios, and today I'm going to do a video on how I master sessions that are sent to me from clients that recorded and mixed their songs outside of the studio, and then they send me a mix down or stereo mix of their song. When I get uh, work like this, where I'm just being hired to do mastering, the program I use is Harrison Mixbus, and I'm going to show you guys why I use that today, real quick. It's like one of the first, one of the main reason why I use it is it's because one of the very first things I do when I start mastering is a feature I can only really use in this DAW to give this effect to my mastering, which makes it my style, my sound that I'm able to impart on every track that goes through my studio to make it like a signature mix or a signature master that comes from Provision Studios. So, all right, here we go. When you first open up Harrison Mixbus, this is the session setup window that you get. So when you want to create a new session, you click right here, and it brings up this window here. Now, I usually use a template, but for this purpose, I'm going to use a blank template or an empty template so you guys can see my process from scratch. So, anyway, you would use a template here if you wanted to, and then here you would go where you want to save the session at, and then where you would want to name it, or what you would want to name it. So let's just call this mastering setup. All right, and you can click open, and this is going to take you to your audio MIDI setup. And what this is for, this is so you can configure your audio interface and any type of MIDI that you may use. Now, again, we're going to be strictly mastering here today, so we're not worried about the MIDI functionality. We're just going to look at the audio interface. So you've got your audio system here, your input and output device, your sample rate, and then your buffer size. Now, if we were recording, we would want to set our sample rate to about 128 samples. The reason being is when you are recording, you want to be able to play something into your interface and then hear it back into your monitoring setup, whether it's studio monitors or headphones, with the least amount of latency as you can get through your system. The faster your processor, the faster your CPU, the less latency there's going to be, regardless of what your buffer is. But ideally, you will set your buffer as low as you can go without causing too much stress on your CPU. 128 is a good starting point. Now, since we're mastering today, we can crank up our buffer. I'm going to go up to 1024 samples. And the reason why you do this is you're not worried about getting your audio to play quickly through your monitoring system, because we're not playing anything through the audio interface. We're basically just using the computer to send audio to our headphones through our interface. So we want to have all our processing power to our CPU because we're going to be adding plugins. And when I'm mastering, some of the plugins I use are very processor intensive. So, all right. So we got it set at 1024 samples, and then we're going to hit start. And what's happening now is Mixbus is communicating with our audio interface to get it set to where they're able to talk together based on the settings we just chose. All right, so once it's done scanning your plugins and making sure that there's no discrepancies in your system, this is the screen you come to. And I'm just going to bring your attention right up here to the top window. On the right, you've got three main windows that you have. You've got the recording, the edit, and the mix windows. And right now we are in the mix window. The shortcut to go from window to window is Control M. I always use the shortcut, so this is what your edit window looks like, and that's what your mix window looks like. Again, we're mastering today, so we're not worried about the recording window. We're just going to be going back and forth from the mix and edit window. So over here on your left-hand side, you got your Mixbus strips, and Mixbus comes pre-installed with 12 Mixbus strips. When I master, I really only use one. So normally what I do, and this is how my template is set up, is these are all turned off, except for just the one, and that's right here. So this is my main Mixbus that I'll be using to for the special feature that I explained it, or I mentioned earlier in this video. Again, you can see right here, if I click on this one, it puts another one here. And that's all it is these are all hidden right in here behind this window you can drag over. So again, I'm just using the one, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. Up here in the top left-hand corner, we have our transport, which you can use to play, stop, and we'll go back to the beginning of your audio file. And we also have our favorite plugins. Now, this can be set up for recent plugins, top 10 plugins. I keep it on favorite because these are the plugins I use to master. Simple, clear cut. I use these plugins. I want them right here so I can drag them into my master bus and start mastering. Okay. So all that being said, let's bring in an audio file so we can start mastering. So to do that, you hit track and import. The shortcut is Apple I. So if I go to my keyboard and hit Apple I, I'm going to get this media import window. I'm going to go to where my audio files are residing, and I'm going to bring in a track that we are going to look at mastering today. All right, so once we have our file selected, you can see down here we have add files, and it's selectable as add new tracks, to source list. To source list would be if you wanted to not necessarily put it into your sessions timeline, but in a area where you can recall it as when it's needed. Again, we're mastering this track. We know we are, so we're going to bring it right into our session. The next option you have is one track per file or one track per channel. So the one track per file will take the file you select and put it on one stereo track. One track per channel will take a stereo file and give you two inputs, two tracks, a left and a right, or a one and a two, depending on how you look at it. We want it to be one track per file, and there's several other elements here that you guys can look at. There's a play or a rehearse function here that allows you to hear your playback, so you can test your files to make sure you got the right one, where you want to insert it at, conversion quality, all other things. I'm not going to go into that today because this is not a Harrison Mixbus review or tutorial. This is just me showing you how I master songs that weren't recorded here in my studio. I'm going to click import to get this song into our session. All right. So here we go, guys. Importing that file, put a new strip right here in our session. So let's go and look at our, we're going to keep our eye right here. This is our master strip right here. This is the master bus. This is going to give this negative 128. This is going to tell us what our peak is in the audio that plays through it. But first, I want to go switch over to our edit window. Again, that shortcut is Control M. So this is the song, and at the bottom of the screen, you're going to see this gray window. This is basically our preview, or our scroll, so I can click on the end of it and drag it to the right. And what that's going to do is that's going to bring the whole song into my view. So now I've got this track and I can see the whole song. So let's do quick playback so we can get an idea of what it is that we're actually going to master.
I woke up spinning on a turntable. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable. I hope what was printed in my grooves would be forever saved in my sleeves. Words were written and they survived past my grave, but the records that we keep are destroyed in 3030. The words that we speak, written in dirt, get buried. Sanskrit cave drawings covered up, screenplays, writings, film strips torn up. There will be no more music or ears to greet it. This song goes unplayed and the chorus unheard, and the heartland sees oceans, skyscrapers submerged. We cease to exist. Is a time here at risk? Will the ceilings and floors still see the walls? In the woods a tree falls and the insects still crawl. Could I hear a couple argue, a car jump start? Radio playing in the background. Will my voice on this record still make a sound? Yeah, will my voice on this record still make a sound? Yeah. But I'm destroyed by the needle and it drove me.
All right, another verse. All right, let's see what we got here. Breakdown. I like the piano, the acoustic guitar, and the synth. They sound good together.
Woke up spinning on a turntable. Vocal cords from a baritone, he dated a soprano. At least Frank Sinatra survived the coup d'etat.
All right.
Throughout the streets, curtain guards laugh with ignorance. Free thinkers are shunned. Follow orders. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable.
This is like the outro. Yep. All right, cool. All right, so I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to select this whole region right here, and then you could go do one of two things. You could go transport and set loop from selection, or you can see the shortcut here is the right bracket. So I could hit right bracket, and this creates a loop from what I had selected. Now I'm going to go back over to my mix window. Again, that's Control M. And we can see we're at negative 9.1. That's our peak. So we're good. We can master from that. With the loop section I selected, I've now enabled a loop point. So on my keyboard, whenever I want to play from that loop, I can hit the L button, and that will go. It'll start from the beginning of the loop point, play all the way to the end of the loop point, and then loop back. So I have a continuous loop now that I can set my mastering to based on that section of the song. Okay? So first things first, the magic that is Harrison Mixbus, I can sum it up into one word. Mixbus. The mix buses that you see here, those 12 of them, they are the magic of this DAW. And what you can do, you can see on each strip, you've got mix bus 1 through 12. And what this is this allows you to give you parallel routing to these mix buses. So, and once you do that, then you can do all different kind of processing on any one of these 12 mix buses. What I do is I use this as a parallel compression feature. So I would hit this button here. And now what this is doing is this is sending a full copy of what I have on track 1 directly into my mix bus. And now I can set this mix bus to be a compressor that is going to allow that to go into the master bus, blended in to the main track to give me parallel compression. So let me show you how I set that up. First thing I'm going to do is select compressor here. I'm going to take my ratio up to 10 to 1. Take my gain up to about 2.5. That's good. And I'm going to pull my fader all the way down. Because what we're going to do is we're going to get our threshold set on playback, and then once we get a good a gain reduction amount going, then we're going to start pulling this fader up and blend it into our track till we get the type of effect that we're wanting. Anyway, let me also point this out. You've got a dry feature here. This adds some nice harmonic saturation to whatever you run through it. So I'm going to turn this up. Give me about negative 0.5 right there. Okay. Now this is going to run into the master bus, and it's going to run parallel to my main track. So let's hit our loop, and then let's start bringing up our mix bus 1 so we can hear our parallel compression effect.
Woke up spinning on a turntable. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable. I hope what was printed in my grooves would be forever saved in my sleeves. Words were written and they survived past my grave, but the records that we keep are destroyed in 3030. The words that we speak, written in dirt, get buried. Sanskrit cave drawings covered up, screenplays, writings, film strips torn up. There will be no more music or ears to greet it. This song goes unplayed and the chorus unheard, and the heartland sees oceans, skyscrapers submerged. We cease to exist. Is a time here at risk? Will the ceilings and floors still see the walls? In the woods a tree falls and the insects still crawl. Could I hear a couple argue a car?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's bringing out the bottom end. That's giving us all kinds of power and even a little bit of crunch, and I love that. I can pull that back here in a little bit once I bring in some of my plugins if I feel it's doing too much at that point. But right now, the fact that I have used 0 plugins and I've already made this a more punchier, a more dynamic mix with a lot more life to it. That to me is worth mixing in or mastering in this DAW alone. The fact that you can use 0 plugins and do this to a mix without even moving your master fader or your fader on your main track. You're just basically blending in this sweet and this powerful parallel compression feature. It's just that's gold to me. Okay, let's get busy. We've had our fun. Now it's time to start doing some work. First things first is I'm going to first things first, I'm going to hit save because we want to save what we got. All right, I'm going to bring in virtual mix rack. This is how I start my mastering sessions. Basically, what I do is I use the virtual mix rack to give myself a pair of serial EQs, and what they are doing is I'm doing a slight boost at 60 hertz and a slight boost at 100 hertz. And again, this is to further accentuate the low end of the mix if it's needed. So what I'll do is I'll A/B it. If what I'm getting from the parallel compression is already more than what I need, then I will either disable one or both of these EQs and move on to the next step. But I always start here because the bottom end is always the important, especially in a song like this. You want to make sure that the tight end, the low end is tight and well represented, and that it's not floppy, it's not weak, or it's not out of control. You don't want it to be too much either. So the important thing is to go in small steps, a little here, a little there, and once you feel like you've gone to that point where you've gone too far, you can always back off a little bit. Okay, so let's double click on our plugin so we can open it up, get our settings set, and then we can start running audio through it to hear how it's going to affect the mix and how that is going to affect what we're getting through our master bus. Because not only are we putting this EQ on the main track, but because we're putting all our plugins on our master bus, we're also affecting the parallel compressed version too. So we're EQing everything. All right, so let's go to our preset real quick and start building it up from there. Okay, so here's our two EQs. I'm going to start with the 100. Hear how the 100 sounds.
Woke up spinning on a turntable. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable. I hope what was printed in my grooves would be forever saved in my sleeves. Words were written and they survived past my grave. But the records that we keep are destroyed in 3030. The words that we speak, written in dirt, get buried. Sanskrit cave drums.
I'm going to bring in the
covered
60
up.
now.
Screenplays, writings, film strips torn up. There will be no more music or ears to greet it. This song goes unplayed and the chorus unheard. And the heartland sees oceans, skyscrapers submerged. We cease to exist. Is a time.
Very good. All right. The EQ settings I have are not too much. They are doing some real nice light lifting, helping to give that low end even more girth. So I'm fine with what it's doing. It's giving us even a little bit on the snare. So I'm fine with what we're hearing right there. All right. Next, we're going to bring in a little bus compression. And the plugin I use is an emulation of Christopher Lord Alge's red compressor. And this is an excellent piece of hardware. And this is a really good digital emulation from Stephen Slate. So let's get this on. Get our starting point settings worked up. Okay, target here is -5 dB of gain reduction. That's what we're trying to hit. So let's start dialing this in and get the sound we want. This compressor is going to be the glue that pulls everything together of the parallel compressor, the EQing we've done, and the pre-existing mix as it was delivered to us. So this is really the glue that we want to help shape the mix to be what we're gonna go to the next step with. So here we go.
Woke up spinning on a turntable. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable. I hope what was printed in my grooves would be forever saved in my sleeves. Words were written and they survived past my grave. But the records that we keep are destroyed in 3030. The words that we speak, written in dirt, get buried. Sanskrit cave drawings covered up. Screenplays, writings, film strips torn up. There will be no more music or ears to greet it. This song goes unplayed and the chorus unheard. And the heartland sees oceans, skyscrapers submerged. We cease to exist. Is a time here at risk where the ceilings and floors still see the walls. In the woods a tree falls and the insects still crawl. Could I hear a couple argue, a car jump start? Radio playing in the background. Will my voice on this record still make a sound? Yeah, will my voice on this record still make a sound?
Very good. All right, that is at 50%. I just turned it up to 60% mix. So it's not a lot, but again, I'm just trying to tighten things up a little bit. I still want there to be the integrity of the mix that I was given. If this was my mix, I probably would have that on 100%. But because I am trying to deliver something that is just more of a commercially viable mix than what the client gave me, I still want to keep the characteristics of their mix intact. So that's why I'm dialing the mix back. I started at 50% and I brought it up to 60 just because I thought it could use a little bit more of this compressor in the overall tone. So, all right, save that. Bring in our next plugin. Next, we're going to go with Gullfoss, and this is an excellent all-around plugin that you put it on your mix bus. You can put it on any track, actually. It is pretty processor intensive, so I recommend you use this sparingly. If you've got a really powerful computer system, you could put this on vocals and your mix bus and your drums or a kick and a snare, whatever, and start dialing this in, and you're going to be just blown away at the control that this gives you. But anyway, so I'm going to start making adjustments on this plugin, and I'm going to explain to you what they are doing and why I'm doing what I'm doing with it. Okay, So let's start our loop.
Woke up spinning on a turntable.
I said this boost.
Melted in the sun.
This boost here is going to accentuate our low end even more. And the first thing I'm going to do is once I get that up, is I'm going to go here, pull this down, and I'm going to go down here and pull this up. And what this is this red line here and this red line here. They are your cutoff points. Anything to the left of the left line and to the right of the right line are completely unaffected by anything we do inside of Gulf Falls. So those frequencies are going to be left alone. Okay?
Woke up spinning on a turntable. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable. I hope what was printed in my grooves would be forever saved in my sleeves. Words were written and they survived past my grave. But the records that we keep are destroyed in 3030. The words that we speak, written in dirt, get buried. Sanskrit cave drawings covered up. Screenplays, writings, film strips torn up. There will be no more music or ears to greet it. This song goes unplayed and the chorus unheard. And the heartland sees oceans, skyscrapers submerged. We cease to exist. Is a time here at risk? Will the ceilings and floors still see the walls? In the woods a tree falls and the insects still crawl.
All right. So basically, recover, as you turn it up, what you're doing is you are running the mix through Gulf Falls, and the recover function is giving the plugin the ability to enhance anything that may be lacking in the mix. The higher you go with recover, the more it searches for things that are not necessarily where they should be. Tame does the opposite. As you turn it up, it searches for things that are maybe too much or too high or improperly set level matching wise or frequency wise to whatever else is going on in the mix, and it'll correct for that. The higher you go for that with that, the more it's going to search for these offending frequencies or these balance issues and correct for those. This can actually take a vocal that is too loud and it can pull the vocal down. And it's doing a little bit of that here. As I was A-Bing it on and off, I could hear the vocal being pulled down a little bit as I turned up the tame percentage. Now, that may not be what you're looking for. Again, if that's the case, you can just pull the tame back. Or you could go back to your mix. In this case, since I wasn't the mixer, I'm just providing mastering service. What I'm doing here in Gulf Falls is pretty much going to be it. Unless I go to the client and say, hey, I've heard something in the mix. Could you change such and such? The artist or the mix engineer may say, hey, you know what? We appreciate what you've said. We're fine for you to keep what you got. So in this case, I was hearing that the low end was just a little bit too much, and at the high end there needed to be some stuff pulled down. Vocal was one of them. It was a little too high. So we can see that on our curve here. Our from 2K up to about 10K, it's actually given a pull out here, and then on our low mids up to about 150, we're seeing that it's given us a like an increase in that low mid, so that the low end, the lows aren't going to be so out of what's the word I'm looking for? Out of balance. This is going to sort of take our low mids and given this boost. When you hear the final mix, they're going to be the lows and the low mids are going to be evened out a little bit. So we're going to have a more evened out mix, a more balanced mix based on what Gulf Falls is doing here. So, and then with the Brighton, I'm pulling that down because it's some of the things that it was correcting was I thought was over brightening the mix or over brightening some characteristics of the mix. So I have that control. Not only can I tell it to try to tame or recover, but then I can also affect what it's doing with the brighten and boost controls. So pretty cool. This is really an awesome plugin that can really do a lot of amazing things. So you have to be very careful how you use it. But this is really an unbelievable plugin that can recover and save some mixes that weren't necessarily mixed too well. It's always better to go back to the mix if you can. If you can't, this is the plugin that can save artists. It can save deadlines from not being met. Okay, anyway, let's go back into it.
Woke up spinning on a turntable. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable. I hope what was printed in my grooves would be forever saved in my sleeves. Words were written and they survived past my grave. But the records that we keep are destroyed in 3030. The words that we speak, written in dirt, get buried. Sanskrit cave drawings covered up.
All right, that's good. I'm digging what we got going on there. So the final plugin I put on now is the Pro L2 from FabFilter, and this really is an amazing plugin. The way I'm going to use it here is I'm going to use the one-to-one mode so that we're not hearing any bump up in volume when I start pulling the gain up on the limiter. All we're going to hear is the audio passing through the plugin. So let me get this set up real quick. I'm going to set my ceiling to -1 and 1-to-1. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to let audio pass through this, and I'm going to go make my adjustments here in a second. So let's save what we got and hit L for loop.
Woke up spinning on a turntable. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable. I hope what was printed in my grooves would be forever saved in my sleeves. Words were written and they survived past my grave. But the records that we keep are destroyed in 3030. The words that we speak, written in dirt, get buried. Sanskrit cave drawings covered up. Screenplays, writings, film strips torn up. There will be no more music or ears to greet it. This song goes unplayed and the chorus unheard, and the heartland sees oceans, skyscrapers submerged.
All right. Let me reset that. Let me make my gain adjustment based on what I saw. And I'm going to do playback and see what we got now that I made my adjustment. Again, there's going to be no increase in level. Even though I just increased the gain going through the plugin by 11 dB, you're not going to hear that. I've got it set to 1-to-1, so we're going to get a true 1-to-1 gain match through this plugin. L for loop starts us over again.
Woke up spinning on a turntable. I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable. I hope what was printed in my grooves would be forever saved in my sleeves. Words were written and they survived past my grave. But the records that we keep are destroyed in 3030. The words that we speak, written in dirt, get buried. Sanskrit cave drawings covered up. Screenplays, writings, film strips torn up. There will be no more music or ears to greet it. This song goes unplayed and the chorus unheard, and the heartland sees oceans, skyscrapers submerged. We cease to exist. Is a time here at risk? Will the ceilings and floors still see the walls? In the woods a tree falls and the insects still crawl. I hear a couple argue, a car jump start, radio playing in the background.
All right, so basically that's it. What I would do now is I would go back to the beginning. I would play the song all the way through to check my limiter because it's set for a certain section of the song. Now I want to hear what that integrated level is going to be after it plays the entire program of the material. I do want to go to one part of the song. Let's go right here.
I woke up spinning on a turntable. Vocal chords from a baritone, he dated a soprano. At least Frank Sinatra survived the coup d'etat. Throughout the streets, curfew is 10 o'clock. It's martial law. Chernobyl looks like an amusement park compared to this place after dark. This wasteland we imagine turned out far-fetched even for my reincarnation. No sense of nation, no sense of unity, doomed to damnation. They don't recognize you. Report to the nearest station. Only some of the classics were saved, the rest Fahrenheit 451. Classified as propaganda and burned up like the sun. Gods laugh with ignorance, free thinkers are shunned. Follow orders.
This is where we started.
Yeah, follow orders. A chain of command or you're done.
Here's the Mixbus.
Woke up spinning on a turntable.
EQ.
I melted in the sun, tried to sing but was unable.
Compressor.
What was printed in my grooves would be forever saved. In my sleep,
Goldfoss.
and then they survived past my grave.
In delimiter.
I woke up spinning on a turntable. I woke up spinning on a turntable. I woke up on a turntable.
And that's it. So I would go back again to the beginning of the song. I'd play the whole thing through, keeping my eye on making sure my EQ is holding up, my compressor isn't going past 5 dB of gain reduction, making any adjustments to Goldfoss that I feel I have to do, but mainly keeping my eye on my integrated LUFS level, because negative 14 LUFS is my target for online streaming, with places like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, etc., etc. So if I go above negative 14 to negative 13.9, negative 13.5, I'm going to get a penalty when this is uploaded to those digital distribution sites, and they are actually going to turn the song down so that it doesn't jump out when listening to other commercial releases. So that's my goal. And that is my job as a mastering engineer, is making this song have the ability to stand up against other commercial releases when it's streamed on Spotify and other digital distribution streaming sites. Okay. If you have any questions about what I did here today, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. You can always email me at bbuck822@gmail.com. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you would like to see anything that I did here today in more detail, or even go a step back to before I start this, what's my process there, by all means, reach out. You can either do a comment below, email me, and again, I welcome all emails, all questions, all comments. I try to be fair with everyone. Some people they message me and they ask me stuff that I just can't help them with. So I try to steer them in the right direction. So hey, I can't help you, but this may be a place you can get your answer. Thank you again for all your support. You will probably see some affiliate links in the description of the video. All I ask is that if you guys are out there looking for gear and anything that I've said has helped you out, when you go to buy that gear, if you could look to see maybe if I have a link for that gear in any of my videos, just click and buy it through my affiliate links, because that helps me keep money in the studio. Every penny I make here in the studio stays in the studio, so that allows me to replace cables, replace tuners, replace strings, repair gear. And I'm not saying that that's your responsibility to do that, but because I don't charge for anything, this is all provided freely through YouTube. It's a way for me to be able to keep growing the studio and keeping all my gear optimized. Okay, thank you very much for your time. Again, I appreciate all the support, and I hope to see you guys soon in my next videos. All right, bye now.